So let's talk about St. Augustine and the city of God. St. Augustine. Good old St. Augustine and the city of God. With meticulous detail, often disturbing in its literalness, Augustine outlines the epics of future history, climaxing with the new heaven and the new earth. Such an attempt escapes the charge of speculation, Augustine believes, because it has its point of departure. The overarching problem was providence. If God does not know what evils will occur, is he even God? He don't know what evils are going to occur? I thought he was all-knowing, past and future, and this and that. If he does know, is God then either impotent or just evil? You know about the damn evil. You can, help temper it, help stop it. But I guess Augustine answers the first question in the negative. God must have foreknowledge to be God. The problem exists only if one holds that infallible foreknowledge implies necessity. For Augustine, God can know all things without undermining free will, for the free wills themselves are included in the order of causes which God foreknows. It is God's knowledge of a thing which gives it not only being, but also its specific nature. Thus, it is the very fact of God's knowledge of man's free will which makes it free. It is known as free and not as determined. Freedom does not mean uncaused but self-caused, and it is the very self which cause knows even more intimately than the self does. Okay. See, freedom, right? Oh, free will. You got the freedom to do evil, and then the good people have to stand up, so it's all about free will. Big old fucking goddamn experiment. I guess if you have an ant farm and you put a bunch of ants, you're not going to try to stop evil, right? Even if you're like the god of that ant farm, you can't stop each and every act of evil, really. You're just a benign observer, and the good, if they don't want to be bullied, are going to have to stand up for themselves. The principal ideas that are advanced in the city of God by St. Augustine, which was first transcribed 413 AD, the essential nature of man is will. So St. Augustine and Nietzsche agree with that. No man wills the true God to be God unless he is touched by the divine grace. If you got a touch of the divine spark in you, says Jordan Peterson. Theology is faith seeking understanding. Theology is faith seeking understanding. Okay, I blindly believe in this horse shit, but now I just want to know why. Man has faith in order that he may understand. Maybe I'll have faith for now and fake it till I make it, and then once I make it, then I'll figure it out and then do it the right way. History has, what if we do it the right way to begin with? History has at its beginning the creation, at its center Christ, and as its consummation the judgment and transformation. So history at the very beginning is the creation, right? Adam and Eve, God farted out the Garden of Eden, and then the serpent and the snake and the apple, and then Cain kills Abel because he was a jealous bitch. Cain, you jealous bitch, you. As his consummation, and then Christ, right? At the very center of history is Jesus, and how he got beat up and tortured and flogged. He got flogged over and over again. Mary Magdalene washed his feet, and then they nailed him up on a cross. So St. Augustine is like, my God, at the very beginning you have Adam and Eve, then in the middle you got Christ, and now you're trying to tell me there's a big question about the fall of Rome. Rome is going to get sacked 410 AD. 410 AD, and then he wrote this, the city of God, 413. 413, and he's sitting there, basically the question is Christianity to blame for the fall of the Roman Empire? Sack of Rome, 410. There's a couple of them. Sack of Rome, 1527. 410, 390 BC, 455, 476. Rome keeps getting sacked over and over again, but I guess 5 times throughout the 2,000 years. It's not too bad, huh? It's only 5 times we got sacked in 2,000 years. That's not... Look at all the years we didn't get sacked. You're being a pessimist here. Sack of Rome, 410. The Visigoths, led by their king Alaric. Alaric and the Visigoths are going to sack Rome August 24th, 410. At that time, Rome was no longer the capital of the Western Roman Empire. It was replaced by Milan, Mediolanum in 286, and then by Ravenna in 402. What? Rome wasn't even the damn capital? Well, that's where they fucked up. Nah, Milan's the capital. No, Ravenna. Ravenna. That's not the capital of fucking the Roman Empire. Rome is the capital of the Roman Empire. The Ravenna Empire, nobody's going to go for that. Nobody's going to go for that. St. Jerome, living in Bethlehem at the time, wrote, "The city which had taken the whole world was itself taken." It's pretty poetic, St. Jerome. So the sacking of 410 is seen as a major landmark in the fall of the Western Roman Empire. So why is Rome going down? Here it says, occasioned by the sack of Rome in 410, the city of God arose as an answer to pagan critics who insisted that Christianity was the principal cause of the weakening of the Roman Empire. There's actually a good Christianity really fucking dulled Rome, right? Rome was all about conquering and taking over the world, but they also had fucking aqueducts and pretty good architecture and shit. But what does Christianity says? It says turn the other cheek, give away your riches, don't go around conquering other people. You are the oppressed. Be a good person. And then when Christianity became fused together with Rome, which was who did that? Somebody, Constantine. One of the fucking emperors said Christianity is the principle. And then it just went like wildfire all over the fucking world. But once Rome adopted Christianity, then the fucking Inquisitions began. Now, we're all Christians around here. So it's kind of good and bad. It's good and bad in the sense that if you're all a bunch of Christians, you don't have to worry about the religious question. The religious question's just put off to the side. Now, we're all Christians here. We all like Jesus, turn the other cheek, the golden rule, the whole shebang, give bread to people, water and wine. We like it. It's good. But once the Roman Empire says we're Christians now, then fuck all the other religions. And so there was I'm not sure, the Crusades, that was more, okay, so I just want to ask that question. And I also want to quote here, St. Augustine says this here, the significance of this omission rested in Augustine's common confession with St. Paul. I can will what is right. St. Paul, I can will what is right, but I cannot do it, for I do not do the good I want, but the evil I do not want is what I do. Wretched man that I am, who will deliver me from this body of death? Truth is not a matter simply of knowledge, but of action to anticipate the existentialist. The problem is not knowing the truth, but living the truth with this awareness, da-da-da-da-da. So that little quote right there is basically saying St. Paul, St. Augustine, they're saying they're evil motherfuckers. They are evil motherfuckers. And if essential man of nature is will, then that means, if you're just going to not use any reason, logic, or thought, you're just going to be a barbaric beast, piece of shit. You're just going to spread evil. You're just going to be an evil fucking dickhole fuckwit. And you don't want to be a dickhole fuckwit. I'm telling you. Or schmegma. Underneath the... Okay, so truth is not a matter simple. So this is St. Paul and St. Augustine essentially saying that their fucking nature is goddamned evil. And I want to say from Augustine or Thomas Aquinas, I had got that to be good, it's not just to say that you're good or just to believe in some invisible man in the clouds, but to be good is you got to do good. You got to be good, to think good. That's the first step. Have a foundation of goodness, and then do good. And then that's how you build your dignity, by doing good. Let's just say planting trees. Let's say planting trees is good. So the way we build our dignity up is the more trees that we plant, the more good we are, the more that we are using our will to enforce our goodness. So that's quite interesting. The man who's going to be an apologetic to the Christianity of ancient Rome, of ancient Christianity, he's going to apologize or basically say ancient Christianity wasn't to blame. But he is sitting there saying that he's a wretched man. He is a wretched, evil man. Because God had foreknowledge, he knew that man's will would be misdirected and that evil would thereby come into the world. But he also knew that through his grace, good could be brought out of the evil. History is divided by two cities formed by alternate loves, the earthly city by the love of self and the heavenly city by the love of God. You alright? You guys okay? Not only are major charges answered, but Augustine deals with every conceivable attack. He answers the critics in terms of the Christian position and defended his answers in detail from the writings of the honored spokesmen of the empire throughout its history. Augustine's second purpose with this work was to help Christians themselves who had been weakened or perplexed by persecution and by the disastrous events of history. In effect, there was no telos, no final goal toward which history moved. St. Augustine's apology developed the cosmic implications of Christian revelation, defending history. So the other side is, yeah, Christianity dulls the Roman culture. They were Romans, right? And the damn Romans, they want to kill the Christians. Well, Christianity says, let's not do that. Let's do something different. And so they became, they melded, they blended together, and some other fucking creature existed out of that. But because there was no dispute, Christianity was it made it, they could act in unison. They could be more closer to being one. Which, that's theocracy, and that just, I don't like any of this at all. But I'm just saying what St. Augustine believes, okay? So you got an earthly city, love of self, but then you got the love of God. And the love of self, that's going to be like the Sodomites, right? And Lot and the pillar of salt. But if the way we get good to come out of all this evil in the world, since humanity is essentially evil, is with God's good grace, we get evil, or we kill evil. We get good out of that evil. Which I don't know exactly what the hell he's talking about there. If you just have the good grace of the invisible man in the clouds, and you'll be alright. Nah, you'll be fine. Why? Because some rich woman will marry me and take care of me? No. The invisible man in the clouds, he'll just give you the good grace that you need. Don't you worry. I am so freaking worried now. So St. Augustine wrote 8 centuries before goddamn St. Thomas Aquinas. Those are the two main Christian fucking apologists, St. Augustine and St. Thomas Aquinas. St. Augustine was a Platonist, and St. Thomas Aquinas was an Aristotelian. And that is so important to this author. Any attempt to gloss over this fundamental difference between these two leading theologians of Christendom is to pervert them both. St. Augustine was a Platonist. Don't fucking tell me differently. St. Thomas Aquinas, Aristotelian. If you try to tell me that Augustine was Aristotelian, motherfucker, get the hell out of here. St. Thomas Aquinas, a Platonist. St. Thomas Aquinas read Plato. Oh, you lying son of a bitch. For Plato, knowledge through the senses was inferior to intuitive knowledge. He didn't care about the empiricists. He didn't care about the 25 senses. Probably only thought we had 5 senses. And thought that intuitive knowledge was more important than any asshole would just be, well, I don't have to study and know things. I would just, I like to intuitively know things. Based off of what? You're ignorant? I got a foundation of ignorance. I know a whole bunch of stuff I don't know nothing. And that's the foundation you're going to build yourself on, a foundation of ignorance, huh? And superstition and tyranny. The knowledge of the essential nature of all things, without which men perceive only dim shadows in a darkened cave, coupled with this Platonic distrust of the senses, was St. Augustine's preoccupation with the problem of evil and his own personal problems of morality. At first, this concern driven him to the position of Manichaeanism. That philosophy holding to a metaphysical dualism of good and evil and to the inherent evil of matter. There's no telos, no final goal toward which... Okay, so the city of God is one of the first attempts at a theology or philosophy of history. Although Greek concepts of history differed somewhat, the Greek concept of history was essentially an agreement that history is cyclical, characterized by an endless round of reoccurring events. In effect, there's no telos, no final goal towards which history moved. St. Augustine's apology developed the cosmic implications of Christian revelation, defending history as a linear pattern. I would actually say history is progressive. We are progressing towards getting better and better and better. It does rhyme, history repeats, but it rhymes. It's cyclical, but it's not identical. And if we're not getting better, then we're not doing this right at all. We should be gradually always getting better. That's what we, in public education, you go from first grade, second grade, third grade, you're always improving. But we're not going to do that with our republic. We're not going to do that with our Constitution and Bill of Rights. We're not going to do that with the three branches of government or the federalist states versus federal. All that's to prevent tyranny. Fuck a tyrannical, autocratic, monarchist motherfucker. Oh, you're a dictator? Well, go to hell. You're not an American. No, you're not an American. You don't believe in America at all. You don't believe in the republic. You don't believe in the... In this manner, God's immediate responsibility for evil is met, yet there's a lot larger problem, for God still permits man in his freedom to do evil. The empire provided the framework for Augustine's answer. The empire, at its beginning, was dedicated to truth, justice, and the good of man. It was blessed by God. But love of liberty became love of domination. Desire for virtue became intoxication for pleasure. Glory and well-doing became vaunted pride. Herein is portrayed the dilemma of man from the beginning. In the beginning, God created all things and continues to create, for all would relapse into nothingness if he were to withdraw his creative power. All that God created is good, yet mutable, for having been created from nothing, it is absolutely dependent on God. Everything was graduated according to being, and the opposition of contrary serves to heighten the beauty of the universe. So, what? Who gives a shit? Augustine's primary definition is this: a people is an assemblage of reasonable beings bound together by a common agreement as to the objects of their love. History from the beginning to end is divided by the two cities, formed by these alternate loves: the earthly by the love of self, even to the contempt of God; the heavenly by the love of God, even to the contempt of self. Of the first parents, Cain belonged to the city of men, and Abel to the city of God. But since all are condemned by God, those in the latter are there only because of God's undeserved election. All are condemned by God? Sorry, Abel. I know I liked you better, but even you're a bastard, you dirty, rotten rat bastard fuck. Augustine's descriptions of these cities is all the more interesting because he refuses to overstate his case. In the first place, he refuses, for the most part, to equate the human city with historic Rome or the divine city with the visible church. The churches are full of those who shall be separated by the winnowing as in the threshing floor. These are invisible cities, and their members are interspersed in these institutions to be separated only at the end of history. In the second place, he refrains from painting the human city with totally black strokes. The things which this city desires cannot justly be said to be evil, for it is itself in its own kind better than all other human good. For it desires earthly peace for the sake of enjoying earthly goods, and it makes war in order to attain to this peace. This city is characterized not by its goods, but by its supreme love of them. And then it goes on: Christ, meticulous, history, exegeting. I haven't seen that word for a while. God bears witness to himself. According to Dean, Augustine held that the state is an external order designed to achieve the social stability which all men desire in order to pursue their various goals. Do we want to talk about St. Augustine? Yeah, let's talk about St. Who the fuck is this goddamn St. Augustine? The pagans, the Christian. Let's do both. Okay, St. Augustine. The Augustine of Hippo. So you have Saint Hippo, St. Augustine the Hippo. Says Wikipedia here: theologian, philosopher of Berber origin, the Bishop of Hippo, Regius in Numidia, Roman North Africa. His writings influenced the development of Western philosophy, Western Christianity. He is viewed as one of the most important church fathers of the Latin Church in the patristic period. His many important works include The City of God on Christian Doctrine and Confessions. Behemoth. Didn't he write Behemoth too? No. Hobbes wrote Behemoth. Hobbes wrote the history of the Civil War. Hobbes is a behemoth. Okay, anyways. Augustine, hippo. Augustine's on the Trinity, saint in the Catholic Church. Let's see here. Childhood and education. Augustine was born 354 in the Municipium of Thagasti, Algeria. His mother, Monica, or Monica with two N's, was a devout Christian. His father, Patricius, was a pagan who converted to Christianity on his deathbed. He had a brother named Navigius and a sister whose name is lost but convincingly remembered as Perpetua. Scholars generally agree that Augustine and his family were Berbers, an ethnic group indigenous to North Africa, but were heavily Romanized, speaking only Latin at home as a matter of pride and dignity. Did Christianity destroy the Roman Empire? Let's read a couple fucking random Google. Christianity displaced the polytheistic Roman religion, which viewed the empire as having a divine status. So the emperor no longer had divine status. Officially, he did become the first Roman emperor to convert to Christianity. A small cult, historiography of Christianization. In 395 AD, Christianity was declared the official religion of Rome. Christians unleashed the most massive persecution of all other religions in history. That's interesting. Once Christianity became championed by Rome, one of the most militaristic civilizations the world has known, philosophical discussions were had. Christian zealotry was, he thought, ultimately responsible for the fall of the Roman Empire. The church, rather than cause the fall of the Roman Empire, rather provided leadership when Rome was invaded, and probably saved civilization from complete and total ruin. Let's look at this. World Future Fund. Rome under paganism, a wonder of the ancient world. Yeah, Rome under paganism was doing good. All the Colosseum shit and all the fucking columns and aqueducts. Thousands of years of ancient culture and art were destroyed in the largest book-burning and censorship campaign in history. Murderous Christian mobs like those pictured below roamed the streets. Just Christians went around destroying everything. Within a mere 15 years, Rome fell to a barbarian attack led by a Christian German. This set in motion the total collapse of the Roman Empire in the West, right? The sack of Rome. Within a mere few hundred years, the population of Rome dropped from 1 million to 50,000. Lunatic religion policies and endless religious conflicts left the city and its empire in ruins. They're saying 395 AD is when it was declared the official religion, and that's when it went down. Is that true? Constantine. Official religion. I thought that he had made Christianity the main religion. I guess, it's 300 AD, so it's about 100 years before, not like right behind. But Constantine ruled from 306 to 337. So that had been 100 years at least. But that's actually, that is closer to the end than it is. Rome as a kingdom and then a republic, they lasted for 500 years prior. Probably more, wasn't it? So Christianity comes in, they adopt Christianity, then 100 years later, at the end, basically the last 10%, the ninth inning of the Roman Empire, they adopted Christianity and then they fell off. 100 years later, they were gone. So, St. Augustine, he wrote the City of God. What's he look like? What is this piece of shit? Almost all the world's Christians outside of Europe would later convert to Islam. Meanwhile, Europe would remain Christian. The Dark Ages in Europe would last 1,000 years. Yeah, the damn Dark Ages. What the fuck happened with the damn Dark Ages? Thanks a lot. So Christianity took out the Roman Empire and ushered in the Dark Ages. They call it the Middle Ages. Right? After the fall of the Western Roman Empire. And what? Before the Enlightenment? Wow, that is actually how I think of it. You had Rome, you had the Dark Ages, then the Enlightenment. What about Greece and Turkey and Botswana? What about Botswana? What about Botswana? Christian totalitarianism, Christian persecution of pagans in ancient Rome, darkness descends in the classical, troubling quotes from the Bible. All right, we'll do that one. That one sounds. We'll read 5. Whoever sacrifices to any god other than the Lord must be destroyed. Exodus 22:20. Would you sacrifice that lamb to? Not to the Lord. I sacrifice my lamb. I didn't say I ate them. I don't waste food. You shall have no other gods before me. Observe the Sabbath because it's holy. Anyone who just desecrates it must be put to death. Wait, what? Exodus 31:14. Observe the Sabbath because it is holy to you. Anyone who desecrates it must be put to death. Whoever does any work on that day must be cut off from his people. Damn. Do not worship any other god, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. Hi, my name's Jealous. I'm a jealous motherfucking God. Jealousy's a motherfucker. We learned that with Cain and Abel, so it's weird that now we're saying that jealousy is okay and good. Divine mandate for execution of all witches. Do not allow a sorceress to live. Exodus 22:18. A man or woman who is a medium or spiritualist among you must be put to death. You are to stone them. You are to stone them. Their blood will be on their own heads. Leviticus 20:21. You're the one that stoned me. The blood's on your head now. You're the one doing it. It's not, how's it my fault? It's your. If a man lies with a man as one lies with a woman, both of them have done what is detestable. They must be put to death. Leviticus 20:13. This Jewish God is, this Old Testament Jewish God is no fucking joke. He don't fucking mess around, does he? Divine authorization for slave labor. What the fuck is up with this Bible shit? Fucking Leviticus. Your female and male slaves are to come from the nations around you. From them you may buy slaves. You may also buy some of the temporary residents living among you and members of their clans born in your country, and they will become your property. You will call them to your children as inherited property and can make them slaves for life. Leviticus 25:44-46. Leviticus 25:44. Leviticus wants to get rid of us. That servant who knows his master's will and does not get ready or does not do what his master wants will be beaten with many blows. Luke 12:47. You must destroy all the peoples the Lord your God gives over to you. Do not look on them with pity and do not serve their gods, for that will be a snare to you. Deuteronomy 7:16. What? You must destroy all the peoples the Lord your God gives over to you. What the fuck? That rule starts out really bad. The Lord your God has delivered them over to you, and you have defeated them. Then you must destroy them totally. Make no treaty with them. Show them no mercy. Deuteronomy 7:2. When Israel had finished killing all the men of Ai in the fields and in the desert where they had chased them, and when every one of them had been put to the sword, all the Israelites returned to Ai and killed those who were in it. 12,000 men and women fell that day. The Israelites killed 12,000 people in one day, all the people of Ai. For Joshua did not draw back the hand that held out his javelin until he had destroyed all who had lived in Ai. But Israel did carry it all for themselves, the livestock and plunder of the city, as the Lord had instructed Joshua. Joshua 8:28, 24-28.